Hi, everyone. I'm here with Paul Church, and we're talking recruiter enablement. So, Paul, thanks for joining me. Give us a quick introduction to you and your background and what you do today.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. So, I spent about 15 years in the recruitment agency world. About 2 years ago, decided to make the change to the talent acquisition world. Set up an embedded talent model called the Animo Group with my co-founder Kevin Clifford. So I do two things. I run that business with him, and I also run the Talent that Grow podcast, which is all around learning how to be better at our jobs in talent acquisition. I speak to some really interesting people, including yourself, on that.
Yeah, this is like poacher turned gamekeeper for you, isn't it? Because normally
Mm.
you're the one asking the questions.
Uh,
Uh, Not only that, but you have had some recent family news.
Yeah, I've got a 4.5-month-old son. As I was talking to you just before the call, I'm exceptionally tired this week because for 3 nights in a row now, I've been up since about 3:30 with the darling little Oscar. So tough few days sleep-wise, but of course very blessed.
Yes. You said you've been watching movies at 4 o'clock in the morning. What was the last one you watched?
Casino.
Oh yeah, what a great film.
Well, if you can't
What a
start your day watching Casino, what can you do, eh?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, let's talk about you've got a lot of experience in recruitment. So, what to you is recruiter enablement?
Yeah, so recruiter enablement, or what I probably talk about more now is talent acquisition enablement these days, is for me, it's about using technology to allow you to focus on the more human elements of the job. So we used to call it automation. Now, of course, we're calling it AI, whatever you want to call it. But it's about getting rid of those things in your day which take up the most time, which can be done by a piece of automation or AI, so you can do the more important things which humans, for now, have the ownership around, which is building rapport, managing stakeholders, negotiating, creativity, strategical thinking. That's the things I think we should be focusing on. Sales, business development, of course, if you're working in an agency. That's what I think we should be focusing on. And I think recruiter enablement is using the software and the technology to automate all the other things out of your life so you can focus on them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you are a big tech fan. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've maybe used or you are particularly interested in, which fits in with recruiter enablement, which can reduce busy work, which can help you get more time to focus on those high value, like EQ led things.
Yeah, I think what's funny is I think we've got to this conversation because I was actually worried I wasn't doing enough with it, and I think there's always that fear. You listen to Brain Food or something like that, or you hear just a new smart person on there talking about what they're doing. You think, oh God, there's all these things that people are using AI and tech for, and I'm not doing it. I'm behind. I'm falling behind. But actually, I think I'm using it quite a lot to make my life more efficient. So I think number one, I think the most important thing anyone should be doing is using something for transcribing meetings, interviews, that kind of thing. So I played around with Otter because they've got the co-pilot now in that, and I was using Otter before anyway, just for transcribing. It feels really old-fashioned looking at that now, but of course that's evolved. It's got a co-pilot, chat GBT built in. But actually now I'm a MetaView man. I really love MetaView. I think it's so good for screening calls. If you're doing a screening call, MetaView adds itself to the call. It records the notes. It summarizes what happens in that interview or screening call, what the questions you've asked, what the candidate's answers were. It's got lots of different ways it can give you that information to how it suits you. So what does that do? It eliminates the need for you to take notes. You can focus on the human element of that meeting, which is the actual conversation and rapport building. It's one of the things I don't know why I just hated having to write synopsis of candidates when I was submitting them to hiring managers. I don't know why. It just always just felt like a bit of hard work. It's something I'd leave to the end of the day, and I think, oh shit, I've got 6 or 7 of these now to do. So this does it all for you. What is also good about MetaView is if you're going into a business like I am in an embedded way, or actually if you're working with any kind of hiring manager, you can add the hiring managers to your team on MetaView, so the hiring manager can use MetaView as well. So that means they get their interviews recorded, they get their notes typed up, which means no more chasing hiring managers for feedback. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so big shout out there to MetaView. Are there anything else that you want to give a shout out to? Any other like technologies or just like processes that you've put in place?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I suppose a lot of people do. I mean, I suppose I'll talk about how I use it for the podcast as well, because I think a lot of people are running podcasts in terms of recruitment, talent acquisition or tech. So I record the calls using Otter at the moment is what I'm using for that. I then take that transcription, get it to summarize what happened in that conversation, so that podcast or that roundtable webinar like I had this week, turn it into a blog. Fantastic, put my tweaks on it, so it's original content, but then that I've created because I've had the conversation, but then turned into a blog by AI. Maybe a LinkedIn post for that as well, so I can kind of ping it out. Maybe an email I can send out to my mailing list to get people to listen to it. So all of that stuff is just kind of all done. Now I think this stuff only works if you've got original content. If you just go to ChatGPT or whatever and ask it just to do something for you, we've all seen it. People just copy and paste in ChatGPT stuff onto LinkedIn. But if you've got some original content, then it can make it better. As well as with the podcast as well. For when I'm having a briefing meeting with a podcast guest, potentially, I'll get it to record the call. And from that, again, it's something I always found quite laborious was to think about the questions I was going to ask my guests. ChatGPT, can you come up with the 20 best questions you've got? I could ask the guest based on my briefing call with them. I'll then pick the best 10 and bosh, I'm sorted out. Write a synopsis for the episodes, but stick on Spotify. That's sorted out as well. So lots of recording and usage of blogs and content and things like that. I suppose the other thing which I'm using a lot at the moment is Sourcewell, Sourcewell, similar kind of things. I'm using them purely for business development, but it's really handy in terms of my sequencing. I don't have to remember to go back and message someone. It just does it automatically. You can do months of mailing lists and sequencing, but also it's very good for candidate searching as well. Gets you the email addresses, and again you can do those sequencing campaigns when you're sourcing as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Tell us a bit about, slight tangent, but tell us a bit about the podcast. Like, why are you doing it, and like, what's your experience been in doing it?
Yeah, 100%. So for me, I always found, even back in my contract recruitment days, that the best ways for me to win business was to build a community of sorts, and that was at that
Yeah.
time was a candidate community in the Drupal market specifically. So now I'm doing this. I thought, what's my community look like? My target audience is probably going to be talent leaders, HR leaders, people who run businesses and are interested in making their hiring processes or TA functions better. What can I give to that audience that they're going to like, that they're going to value, and then perhaps want to have a conversation with me on a different level rather than just a transactional one. So I created the podcast series. Last year, it was really focused on how to do things like how to be better at diversity hiring, how to write good job adverts. So a how-to guide. We had 100 episodes of that kind of context last year. And this year, we're just coming up to 150th next week. It's a bit broader. We're doing kind of roundtables. We're doing kind of interviewing all sorts of people around what makes how you can keep your best people, how you can attract the best people. But I did it to build my brand and my network. I did think it would probably run out of steam after a couple of months, but it took on a life of its own. And I always remember Hung saying to me a long time ago, he said, the key to a good podcast or success in the podcast world is just to keep going, because so many people start it and give up. So I thought, as long as I turn up every week, that's probably one of the best things I'm good at, better than anything else I'm good at is turning up. Then something will come of it. And it's generated so much interest for me. It's built my brand out. My followers have gone up. A lot of our client list, we've won from that through organic relationships I've made off the back of it. So that's why.
Well, I'll tell you what, recruiters are often good at tenacity, and so I can completely agree with what Hung said, and well done on your perseverance and your success with it. Final question is, like, I'm a potential customer for the Animo group. Like, who am I, and what's my challenges, and why would I be working with your company?
You'd be working with our company 9 times out of 10 because you don't have the proper talent acquisition function set up in your
Yeah.
business. So you've got 20 people, maybe you've just got a load of money in, you need to hire people, you haven't set up the processes, you haven't got an in-house TA team, you're spending too much at agencies and they're giving you a crap service when you do use them anyway. So the Animo group can come in and help you build a foundation for that TA function. Not, we won't be there forever, because you're probably going to get to a point where you're going to bring your TA team in. But we can come in, look at what you're doing in terms of attracting talent. What's your content look like? What's your branding look like? Let's actually go out and get you some people through the door. Let's work with the hiring managers to get you the best people. And I think there's a lot of companies out there doing this model right now, because there's some very big ones we look up to. I think what's different about us is that One thing is we offer a guarantee. If you don't feel comfortable or happy with us after the first 30 days, we'll give you your money back straight away, no questions asked. I don't think other companies doing that, and we're doing that now because in this first 18 months of our existence, we've got flawless results, flawless 5-star reviews. We've built everything, so it's no risk to us.
So it sounds like it's a brave offer, that, but to be honest, you don't need to be brave about it because you got that flawless success.
Exactly.
All right, Paul, great to talk to you. Thanks very much for taking the time to join me today. And where can people find you?
Drop me a note on paul@theanimogroup.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Paul Church, the Animo Group. Link theanimogroup.com. You'll find me.
Lovely. Okay. Thanks, Paul. See you soon.
Cheers, buddy.